As the Flying Husky Racing series continues its trip across the British Isles, jumping from one famous track to another, this week finds them at one of the bastions of open-wheel racing in Britain, Donington Park Circuit. Will the Huskies find this more modern track easier than the old-school nature of Brands Hatch, or will trouble still abound as they put their tires to the track? Stay tuned, because you'll see it all here live on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm DJ Clark, and with me in the booth is Reese Gardner. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Donington may be one of the most historic circuits on the iRacing service, but it's very seldom seen. So let's head over to our track guide for a quick refresher.
Welcome to Donington Park. This British track can boast the rare feat of hosting Grand Prix racing since before the advent of the modern F1 Championship. About a half hour northeast of Birmingham, cars and bikes of many types have competed here. There are two layouts that can be driven: the Grand Prix version, which is roughly 2.5 miles, or the National Circuit, which is just under 2 miles. The only difference between them is the addition of the Melbourne and Goddard's hairpins at the end of the lap. This circuit is known for its fast, sweeping bends and difficulty in overtaking. There's also some extremely tricky blind apexes like at McLean's and Coppice. Ironically, one of the most famous and more difficult high-speed turns is called the Old Hairpin. Resembling nothing of its name, it includes a frustrating kinked entry and a very critical corner exit that leads to a long piece of uphill acceleration. The first turn of Redgate is a popular place for overtakes, but it carries an unusual danger. The pit exit empties right into the racing line, and if stops are expected during the race, it can prompt some treacherous exchanges. While the circuit is most well known for its extremely wet 1993 European Grand Prix, where Ayrton Senna blitzed the field for a win, currently the track is mainly used for lower-level open-wheelers and touring car racing. Overwhelmingly popular with British fans, Donington Park has established itself as a pivotal circuit in the UK racing scene.
Well, Reese, that should give us an idea what this track looks like, but how do you think these F3 cars are going to handle it?
It's going to be a tough one. Donington Park, one of the, actually the oldest continuously operating circuit in the UK. It's been around since the early 1930s, and, well, it's got flat curbs, which are certainly going to be good to use in these very stiff Dallara Formula 3 cars, but they got sausage curbs to deal with down there at the chicane at the end of the lap. You can see just up the top there. So they're going to have to nail their line through there. It's a difficult circuit, is Donington. A lot of quick turns here, particularly in the Old Hairpin, coming up to McLean's and Coppice as well, towards the second half of the lap. I'm looking forward to seeing how the drivers are going to handle it.
Well, I know I'm looking forward to it as well, but before we can get to that, we'd like to thank our sponsors for today's race, first of which is Norsled. Norsled is a non-profit animal welfare organization dedicated to rescuing, rehabilitating, and finding homes for unwanted, abandoned, and abused husky dogs. Today, every Flying Husky Racing track day or car event benefits Norsled, with a portion of the proceeds donated to them. Even if you can't adopt, you can still help ensure care for these amazing animals through your support. Save a husky. For more information, contact Todd Curtis through email at todd@flyinghusky.racing. It's also brought to you by Flying Husky Racing. Flying Husky Racing is a car club based in the Pacific Northwest that delivers premium track days and car events for automotive enthusiasts. FHR is dedicated to safety, development, and building community among members and participants. Find out more on the web at flyinghusky.racing. Flying Husky Racing, track days are the best days. Well, Reese, as drivers are out on track for qualifying right now, why don't you run us through today's race details?
Well, like usual in Flying Husky Racing, it's a 25-minute out-and-out sprint. There is a fast repair available, so if the drivers have a problem out on track, they can bring it into the pits, get a fresh car, and still make it to the end. They're currently in their 15 minutes of open qualifying at the moment, but as usual, there's not much they can do to alter the handling of those cars. It is a fixed setup. This track's only 4 kilometers in length. That's 2.5 miles. We're using the national layout of the Donington Park circuit here as we check out Michael Broomhead. You see him sticking to drivers left down the back straight and then braking for the chicane that goes right and left. On the Grand Prix layout, they go to the left and navigate the Melbourne hairpin and bring it back around at Goddard's before they completed the lap. But Broomhead there setting a 59.642 to start things off. It's a very short track, especially in these cars.
Yeah, it very much is. And that lap for Broomhead, 2/10 ahead of his closest rival there, Andrew Hardman, and only 6/10 off is Nick Horvath. So they're going to have to be working their way forward to watch Gene Hawks. And here is one of the series organizers, Todd Curtis. Let's see what he's able to do here as he comes through. He's currently in 6th place.
Smooth exit from the chicane, not quite using all of the curb on the exit, but looks like it's not going to be an improvement there for Todd. 102.549 versus a 101.8. And the same is true for Andrew Hardman. He can't improve on his current P2 time. Calvin Lee as well. Drivers having a bit of trouble, I think, finding some extra pace here in the last half of this session. Hans Salnave also cannot find any time there. There's a few passing opportunities here on this track that these drivers will be able to navigate during the race. The chicane here, obviously, a place where you can make a move as Nick Colander makes his way through. And that's going to be an improvement for him. 101.8 there, and that puts him up to 7th place at the moment. Other places you can make a pass are at, excuse me, Redgate, the first corner, and also probably down at McLean's and Coppice if you play your cards right. But it's a pretty difficult circuit with how quick a lot of the turns are, how it follows the lie of the land as it goes down through the Craner curves.
Yeah, it's not going to be an easy one, and there you're seeing more drivers having trouble beating that best time. Calvin Lee there, unable to get a better time in by about the tune of 0.6 of a second. Let's check in, though, on your provisional pole sitter, Michael Broomhead. He's going to cross over the line with a minute flat. That is going to be about 0.4 off his best. We still have about 5 minutes left in the qualifying session, though, here, Reese. So I'm wondering if some of these drivers are maybe going to think about coming into the pits, maybe putting a fresh set of boots on.
Yeah, I think this would be a good time to do it because, you know, if you don't leave the pits now to go out on a final run, you're not going to get a chance. This track, of course, only a minute in length in these cars at least, but, you know, you ideally want to get out with at least 2 minutes to go. James Doherty here. Oh, very hard into the chicane, and it looks like the car got a bit crossed up on the transition between the two turns, so that's not going to be a time for him. Andrew Hardman he thinks about getting a slipstream, but again, drivers just having a lot of trouble here finding those extra couple of tenths. Todd Curtis, no such problem for him. He improves to a 101.736, remains there in 6th place. Broomhead, can he improve? Yes, he can. Takes a 10th out of it.
That's a good lap there for Broomhead, moving his advantage up to about 0.3 of a second. Here's Hans Salnave, currently the last of your qualifiers in the session. Salnave not able to improve there, so that's going to be tough for him. Colander is going to cross the line here. He will be able to improve by about 0.2 of a second, so he's going to be happy with that. Now, Gene Hawks on that, coming through the S's. This looks like this will be a slow lap for Gene.
Yeah, looks like it, to the tune of about 1 minute and 6 seconds there. Andrew Hardman, meanwhile, coming to the end of a lap once again through the chicane, just avoiding those red sausage curbs. Can he beat Michael Broomhead? No, he cannot. Manages to miss out on that by less than 1/10 of a second. Todd Curtis as well, improving there to a 101.528, and it looks like a bit of a battle going on between he and Nicholas Colander there for 6th and 7th place.
Yeah, a little bit tight there as we watch Colander. I'm a little surprised to see him this far down in the field. Used to seeing a little bit more speed out of the Northwest driver there, but not able to get it at this moment. Works his way out of that final chicane. Let's see if he's able to improve here. He is by the tune of about 0.2 of a second. That'll bump him up above Todd Curtis into 6th.
God, these guys have been trading places a couple of times during this session. Very hard fighting between Colander and Curtis here at the moment as Gene Hawks makes his way round to the line again. 102.437, having trouble improving on that 8th place. What about Hardman? Oh, God, again, he just misses out on improving his time.
James Doherty there looks like he had a better time, but it wasn't going to count for him. Todd Curtis unable to improve right there. Looks like Calvin Lee's called it a day. He's in the pits. There's a big time from Nick Horvath putting in. It's going to keep him in third right now, but he's going to be pleased with that. Let's see if Colander's got any more pace.
Yeah, let's see indeed. He's going to have to make up like 0.6 of a second if he wants to take P5 from James Doherty. Looks like Gene Hawkes has had a crash out on track as well. The rear end of that car's real all kinds of messed up. But Colander does improve to, well, no, he doesn't. It's a 1:01.5 versus a 1:01.4 for him. And it looks like Broomhead isn't going to be able to either. Last 45 seconds of the session. This is crunch time for the drivers.
Yeah, very much is. Hardman now, let's keep an eye on him as he makes his way out of the S's. Does he have anything for Broomhead? Not on this lap with a 1 minute flat. He's going to have one more bite at the apple.
Nick Horvath, can he make it a 59.9? Yeah, he can, but not quite as fast as he'd want. Todd Curtis as well. That looks like another off track for him on that lap, unable to improve on his current fastest time. What about Hawkes? Making his way through towards McLean's corner. This is a very difficult corner. As you can see, he runs wide there, goes off the track. You have to bring it in late for that one because it tightens up nearer to the end. Coppice is a different kettle of fish. It starts out tight and opens up. Andrew Hardman obviously backing off there. He can't get that lap in, and as the checkered flag flies, it looks like it's qualifying over.
Indeed it is. So these drivers will be able to finish their hot laps, but as you saw there, Hardman, I think, knows it's a little bit lost not being able to get the time there, so he's not going to get a good run in. Looks like the only driver we're waiting on right now is Todd Curtis in that fierce battle with Colander. Let's see if he's able to do better than a 1:01.5. Flings it through that final chicane. Little bit of a weave there. I don't think he's going to get it, and indeed he's not.
That's a shame there for Todd, but tell you what, it was pretty entertaining watching those two trade places there for sixth place. Colander ultimately coming out on top in that battle, but it looks like we have a grid on our hands here, DJ.
It does indeed, with Michael Broomhead on the top to the surprise of no one. As we get ready to go green here in a little bit, only about 15 seconds left as we wait for the clock to tick down. Here is that starting grid, Reese, with Michael Broomhead on top and Andrew Hardman starting beside him. Nick Horvath will be to the inside of row 2, followed by Calvin Lee, with James Doherty 5th and Nicholas Colander 6th. Todd Curtis will be lining up in 7th, followed by Gene Hawkes in 8th. And Ansel will be bringing up the back of the field as it does look like Danny Payne is connected to the session.
Yeah, it is indeed. Unfortunately, looks like Payne was unable to get a time down in qualifying. So with that, we get going and the drivers are lining up on the grid. I'm looking forward to seeing how this first lap goes because, again, you got that passing opportunity into Redgate, the first turn, but then the drivers will have to go into single file as they make their way down through the Craner curves to the old hairpin, then under Starkey's Bridge. The next potential overtaking opportunity would be McLean's if they can get a good run out of old hairpin. But again, repeating from previous rounds, Michael Broomhead's main weakness has been these standing starts. He's more often than not lost positions on the first lap as a result of that, so he'll be wanting to nail that start today.
He will indeed, and that start is about to go as we click down. Here come the lights, the engines start to harmonize, and we get ready to go racing, and indeed we do. Some good action in the back there from Colander, making a big jump through the field. It looks like Broom had been able to solve a little bit of his starting problems, able to get off to a good start there, but that's Horvath challenging Hardman on the inside.
And Horvath into second place. It looks to me like Calvin Lee was the one who got a poor start there, just could not get it off the line like everyone else could. And Horvath is really pressuring Broomhead into old hairpin, but Broomhead using all of the curb on the exit there, making sure that he has the gap that he needs. This race is only short, 25 minutes, but with a track length time under a minute, That means they've got to navigate 25 laps at least of Donington Park. I'd be calling 26 laps as there's a car off in the background. Who is that? That was Hans Salnave. And also Todd Curtis, going off at Coppice, and he's been collected by Gene Hawkes.
Oh no, a big kerfluffle there in the back, but we're going to keep our eyes focused on this leading pair as they come off of that Roberts chicane, and pretty evenly spaced out front, 0.5 of a second or thereabouts between Broomhead, Horvath, and Hardman.
Oh, Broomhead messing up the exit of Redgate. That's going to allow Horvath alongside him through Craner curves, and Horvath just up ahead as they come into the left-hander. Broomhead's going to have to yield for that one.
He is indeed, but one mistake is what cost Broomhead that time. Is he going to be able to fight it back? Now he puts the pressure to Horvath as they work their way through the left-hander and through the left-hander again. The snaking track, always tricky and difficult. Down their way through McLean's. Looks like Broomhead's not going to be able to really mount too much of an assault. The dirty air off of that 382, just a little bit too much for Broomhead at this moment.
Yeah, dirty air does affect you in these Dallara Formula 3 cars. They don't produce as much dirty air as higher class open wheelers, but there's still quite an effect as you go through the fast turns here at Donington. So lap 2 complete, and it is Horvath in the lead. Looking forward to seeing this battle between he and Broomhead for the race victory if both of them can keep their heads screwed on. Andrew Hardman still lurking back there in third as, no, oh dear.
That's Horvath. That was Horvath off. A little bit of problem there, as I believe that was an off car in front of him, Todd Curtis, and that has allowed Broomhead to get back into the lead. So making the same mistake as the former leader did there, that allowed for Broomhead to get back by.
Did indeed, and looks like Redgate's being a little bit of an issue here for these drivers. As we go to a replay, we'll see what happened here to Horvath and Broomhead, and have a look at this. Very close coming into the McLean's corner.
Yeah, Broomhead doing a good job to just keep pressure up there as much as possible. Now they make their way through Coppice here relatively well, and this is where we were talking about Broomhead falling off a little bit, getting back onto the straight before they hit the S's here, and then this is where you're going to start to see the little bit of sweating. Horvath ahead as they get through the S's, and then I was indeed right. That was, I believe, Curtis up ahead of them. So talk me through this move here.
Well, it's pretty much a clear-cut case here. Horvath went into Redgate a bit too hard and understeered off past the apex. It looked like Curtis didn't have much to do with that, but Broomhead was right there to take advantage of the mistake.
Yeah, not putting any blame there on Todd, just saying that may have taken the eyesight away from Nick Horvath, and he may have made the move down there. But Horvath doing a pretty good job to keep close to Broomhead as much as possible. They are in turn dropping Andrew Hardman a little bit. That gap down to about, back up to about 1.8 seconds as is.
Yeah, it seems that Horvath has the edge over Hardman in terms of race pace right now. In qualifying, it was obviously Andrew Hardman lining up second, but Horvath, with that fantastic start, managed to get the jump on him and is really keeping with Michael Broomhead here. They've got a bit of an opportunity to pick up a slipstream through the Craner curves because it's completely flat out through here in a Dallara F3, but once you get into the old hairpin, that's when the dirty air really starts to come into its own, and you wouldn't have seen it past the Starkey's bridge there in the background, but Horvath just pushing a bit too hard on the exit of old hairpin, dropping a wheel into the gravel. You can use a little bit of the ground beyond the curbs here and not pick up an off track, but you'd still like to avoid it.
Indeed, it will slow you down a little bit. You'll get a little bit of wheel spin as you make your way around this circuit. Now lining up for that Roberts chicane. Horvath a little bit better on the brakes. Some of our viewers may have seen that Horvath did manage to set the fastest lap of the race that last time by. So certainly keeping the pressure up as much as possible. He's got that gap down to about 0.5 of a second. Horvath about a tenth faster on that last lap.
Yeah, indeed. It looks like Horvath's setting a 1 minute .342, and his best is still a 1 minute .345. So he obviously picked up an off track along the way around this lap, around that lap. It didn't really count, but Continuing to pressure Broomhead through the back half of the circuit, and I love the flow of this section. You got to bring it in tight for the second half of McLean's and then run out over the curb. Try and pick your braking point over the blind crest into Coppice, and run it out nice and tight towards keeping it mid-corner towards the end of that corner to get a good run onto the straight. For the moment, though, it seems that Broomhead has the edges. There's a car off in front of our leaders. That's Gene Hawkes going for another adventure in the gravel trap.
I was about to bring up that Hawks they were coming up on Gene, and that may present a little bit of a problem, but Hawks having that off prevents them from having to deal with it. Next bit of lap traffic that they will have is Todd Curtis, who's about 10 seconds up the road right now. But Todd's fastest lap is significantly slower than our leaders, so they will be catching him in due time. We'll have to see around the way this circuit works if that'll present any problem to our two leaders.
Yeah, indeed. I think lap traffic, particularly through this section of the course, from Craner Curves all the way up to Coppice, really can be a bit of an issue. The track is wide enough that you might be able to slip up the side of someone, but if you narrow your turn in for one of these corners a bit too much, then you're going to lose a ton of time. These F3 cars, very stiff. They do like it when you keep it on the racing line. But both of our leaders still keeping it nice and clean up there up the top, and it looks like Broomhead setting a 1:0.246. That is the fastest lap of the race. It's a 2:86 from Nick Horvath there, so he's starting to gain on Broomhead a little bit. Actually, it was a 1:0.564 for Broomhead on that last lap, so Horvath taking 0.3 of a second out of him. This is going to be an interesting lead battle.
It is indeed, and it really looks like that Horvath has got the run coming out of Coppice and down into the Starkey Straight, but then he'll lose a little bit of time when he gets through the Roberts chicane. Just kind of gets him off balance ever so slightly as they make their way around. Oh, big run wide there for Horvath. I am so sorry, Nick. I think I may have jinxed that one.
Yeah, he's lost a bit of time now to Michael Broomhead there. He tries to gain it back through the S's under the brakes and tries his very best to, but Broomhead with the gap over the line. It is 0.7 of a second between them, as that is the fastest lap for Michael Broomhead. 1:119. Some really good pace getting squeezed out of these cars as we start to approach the middle stage of the race and onboard down the elevation change through Craner Curves. It's fantastic to watch onboards around this track.
It certainly is, and those Craner Curves were a curve that was lodged in my memory for the longest time, and I had no idea where they were. I just had an image of Formula One cars diving down those curves. Oh, that's a big off there for Nick Horvath. That's going to cost him some more time.
Yeah, but it's only on the run between McLean's and Coppice, so he hasn't lost all that much. As long as he's nailed his exit onto this straight, then he should still be able to stay within range of Broomhead. These guys are going to come up on Curtis in a couple of corners, so this might cause a little bit of drama here for our leaders across the line again, as Broomhead sets another fast lap there, 1:131. Horvath not able to match it, a 10th behind, as Curtis is off the circuit and ultimately poses no problem for our top two.
It does not, but they have Hans Salnave to come up upon now as well. So these drivers doing a good job of frankly having incidents and staying out of the way of this lead battle. For the record, you're not missing a whole lot in the rest of the field. Everybody pretty much staying in order. Calvin Lee dropping down a few positions, but this is the closest battle on track right now, the battle for the lead.
What a battle it is, as it looks to me like, just as I was saying that, Nick Horvath off the circuit on the exit of Coppice, and he has completely dropped Michael Broomhead now. Salnave, though, just up ahead of Broomhead coming onto the start-finish straight. Is this going to cause some drama for Broomhead? Doesn't look like it. He's going to draw up alongside Salnave into the opening for Redgate, and he's by before they get to the turn-in point, so no issue there for Broomhead.
No, none at all. He is by and clear. And as you said, that mistake from Horvath really pulling him back. The gap now at 2.5 seconds. The only person who may have benefited from this is Andrew Hardman. let's put the cameras back on him. He's now within a second of your former second place, or your second place car. This is on board with the number 11 right now. That is Horvath right in front of him.
Indeed, and you see from his previous laps there, looks like Hardman is starting to match the likes of Horvath and Broomhead, and it wasn't the best exit for Horvath out of Coppice on that one, and there's a slight run for Andrew Hardman as Horvath has to pass the lapped car there of Hans Salnave. They both make their way through, and it looks to me like the gap stays even on the exit, but Hardman's going to be on the attack now.
Yes, he is, and a big part of that was Salnave held up Horvath coming through McLean's in Coppice, and so we really had to back off. Oh, another mistake! Another mistake from Horvath, and that's going to allow for Andrew Hardman by.
Ah, and there we go, just like that. These guys are back into where they qualified on the grid. Replay. We'll have a look at what happened here on board from the chasing Andrew Hardman, and it's a typical Redgate error, just a bit too hard, picked up the throttle too early, understeered off into the grass and the gravel on the exit, and that was all she wrote.
As you said, very, very easy to do there through Redgate, but Horvath looks like he's going to try to fight back here. He's holding that gap down. When I looked a couple of seconds ago, it was at 9/10. It's now down to 7.5 of a second as they make their way through Roberts right now. Horvath continuing to push a little bit on Andrew Hardman as Michael Broomhead, for good measure, sets the fastest lap of the race.
Wow, and he's into the 59s now, under a minute. So I think with the first few laps taking over a minute, I might have to revise my earlier prediction and probably make it a 25-lap race. So these guys currently on lap 13 of those 25, and they're definitely past the halfway point now. It seems to me that time rapidly running out here for A, Andrew Hardman to defend, B, Nick Horvath to go on the attack and try and get this second place back. He will be ruining those mistakes that he's made.
Yeah, he certainly will, and I wonder, Reese, if that was a little bit of issue of tire wear. It's not very hot out on circuit, only 94 degrees, but I wonder if he maybe just overheated the tires a little bit early in that battle with Broomhead, and that's costing him now.
Perhaps. These tires can last quite a while in these Dallara F3s, but maybe if he was scrubbing them a bit too much, a little bit too much steering input through the turns, probably overheating the tires ever so slightly, which will make the car a bit more twitchy and a bit more prone to losing grip when you turn in. But I don't know, he seems to have sorted those issues out a bit for now. It looked like a pretty good turn in there to the old hairpin, which is a very curious name for a corner, as it's not a hairpin at all. But through these flowing sections of the circuit, you see, just a tiny little bit of scrubbing of the tires, which, you know, in some cases you do want, because, you know, for a lot of drivers, understeer is better than oversteer when you're going through fast corners like this. But with an old school circuit like Donington, with the grass and the gravel right next to the circuit, it's something that doesn't exactly inspire confidence in a few situations.
No, it certainly does not, and we've seen the detriments of that understeer a couple of times, specifically through this corner of Redgate. Kudos here to Andrew Hardman. He's doing a good job of holding off Horvath. Looks like Horvath is dropping back a little bit. Gap now about 1.3 seconds as they fly their way through the Craner curves. A great camera angle here from our camera guru, Dougie Beard, and thanks to Sean Ambrose for giving us that look. Absolutely majestic to see these open wheelers work their way around here.
Yeah, and a majestic circuit as well. You noticed in that shot there were some stone arches to the left-hand side of the circuit. That's the original Starkey's Bridge. It was actually a railway bridge that went over the area of the circuit, and what a story this area actually has. Donington was actually first mentioned in the Doomsday Book, which is the world's first census, really, in about 1066 AD. And what we're actually racing on here is the old deer park of the Donington Hall estate. From Redgate here, this is where it rejoins the original layout of the circuit, as there's a little bit of a mistake there, but keeps on going. This section of the circuit was actually old carriage tracks that went through the woods. Fred Craner, whom Craner Curves is named after, visited the hall one day, visited the park and thought, hey, these roads would make a really cool racing circuit. Can I do that? They said yes, and away we went.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Let it never be said that listening to GSRC doesn't teach you something. That is Reese Gardner with your history lesson of Donington. Absolutely love that. We're going to catch up here with our leader, Michael Broomhead. We haven't given him a lot of camera time since he was able to escape the clutches of Nick Horvath, but he has just continued to put down fast laps here. Looks like he's backing off a little bit. That last lap was a 1:01.7. He may be in a little bit of coast mode.
Yeah, I think, he's got a gap of about 6 seconds now. What he's focusing on is just driving at 8/10 or something like that, making sure that everything's in order on board in that Dallara F3, not running over the curbs too much, not taking too much on the exit of corners, not taking too much out of the tires. Now that he has got that lead and Hardman and Horvath have each other to worry about, all Broomhead needs to do is just cruise home, and he's doing a pretty good job of that, I must say, as, oh dear, looked like for Hardman and Horvath, they're involved with a bit of lap traffic again with Hans Salnave. Hardman had to back off, and it looks like Horvath is back in the game for second place.
Ooh, the plot thickens here. Indeed it is. Horvath trying to dive this way and that, seeing if there's anything to do. He's going to try to make a move down into Roberts right now, but Hardman able to hold him off.
Indeed, we weren't able to see it just then, but it was a good defense there from Andrew Hardman, and he's been able to get that lead over Horvath back out to, I'd say, about half a second. We'll check it out here on the replay. There goes Horvath to the outside, but Hardman stays ahead. It was a good attempt there by Horvath to try and get him offline, but ended up backing out a little bit too much and just allowing Hardman to get away from him. But they know that if they come up to lap traffic again, then he's going to be right there.
Indeed, they do. The next piece of lap traffic they are going to have to deal with, it looks like, is Todd Curtis, who's about 13 seconds up the road. With 7 minutes left, I do imagine they will catch him in time for this race to be completed. But they're driving this around here. You see Horvath, I think he definitely smelled a little blood in the water there, and he's trying to get back on the attack. Let's see how he does through Roberts. This has been a little bit of his crux through the entire race. He's just lost some time there.
Yeah, and I think you can see one of the reasons why just there he didn't quite go over the curb, not extending the exit out as much as he could probably afford to. And he's still going hard into Redgate, but maybe a little too hard again, just running a little wide. It looked to me like Hardman, he didn't quite take as much out of the tires through that corner, but he was able to keep it a little tighter, which helped him. As looks like, oh, we got a battle here between Colander and Lee for P5 and P6. Calvin Lee, of course, recovering from that poor getaway off the line, and it looks like Colander under a bit of pressure here as he's had to go defensive into Redgate, and that's going to allow Lee to get a good run here through Craner Curves.
The question is if he's going to be able to hold it. They go down through Craner. You see him there trying to go around the inside of the old hairpin. That's a gutsy move from Calvin Lee, and it forces Colander wide.
Oh, Colander gets back onto the circuit behind Lee, and it looks like a pretty classic case of pressure your rival into a mistake. Lee was up there on the inside, so Colander tried to compensate by braking a little later, but ultimately that's going to take him out of it, and Andrew Lee now up into the top 5 again. He's still got a pretty big gap to James Doherty, who's by himself at the moment. He's about 8 seconds ahead of Lee right now. But it seems that now Lee, as long as he can hold on to this, securing a top 5, and, well, he's not going to be able to get 4th back, but at the very least, he's still on for a good result.
Yeah, and he should be relatively happy with that. As he pulls away here, that gap stretching out to about 1.2 seconds. Let's bring your focus back to that battle for P2. Horvath getting very close here up through Roberts, really trying to put the pressure back onto Andrew Hardman. That gap coming down to under half a second.
Indeed, he got a good exit from Coppice there. Wasn't quite able to take advantage through the S's, through the chicane. And Hardman just dropping a wheel off in the gravel. That's going to harm him slightly here. I think Horvath's issue on that lap was he just took a little bit too much of the sausage curbs through the chicane. That unsettled him. He wasn't quite able to carry as much speed, and you have a look at him extending the corner off Old Hairpin there, still maintaining momentum as they go under Starkey's Bridge, the old railway bridge down to McLean's Corner. It's amazing to think that, you know, this track is surrounded by rolling fields of grass, but when it opened, you had trees right by the side of the track, and the drivers in their old thin-tired Grand Prix machinery were navigating these narrow, bumpy roads. It was such an incredible circuit in that time, Donington, and it still is now.
Oh, very much so, and it is a good thing for driver safety, obviously, that those trees are gone, but very, very close here with Horvath.
Indeed, and they've got, oh no, Horvath makes another mistake there on the exit of Redgate. He drops some time to Hardman once again. It just seems like every time this battle looks like it's heating up, one of the drivers makes an error and they get spaced out again. They will have no lap traffic to deal with at the moment, it seems. So right now, all they've got to race against is each other and the track.
Yeah, it looks relatively clear at the moment as they continue to go through here. Close behind, following is Horvath. That gap coming down still under a half a second. He's going to try, not just keeps it through Roberts, and that's where he's been struggling, Reese, is going through Roberts.
Yeah, it looks like that direction change unsettling the car a little bit, and you've got to be inch perfect over those curbs. Otherwise, again, you'll hit those sausage curbs and the car will go wild on you. Through the rest of the circuit, though, he seems to be pretty strong and just gaining ever so slightly on Hardman through Craner curves. See how they go then through the old hairpin with another long, wide shot. Both of them keeping it on the curbs, but Hardman going a bit too hard into the corner, compromised his exit, and that allows Horvath right onto the back of him.
It does indeed. Horvath very much coming up behind, doing everything that he can do, putting a lot of pressure. Ooh, is he going to be able to make it work?
Ran a little wide in the first part of Coppice, so it seems that he's just lost a little more time there on the straight once again. Slightly defensive line there from Andrew Hardman, trying to break the draft down the back straight and then into the chicane again. It looks like both of them taking the chicane pretty perfectly there, but all the same, getting a move done here at Donington, you're going to have to nail Coppice.
Really is going to have to nail it absolutely perfectly. Ticking down under a minute and a half to go. He's running out of time.
That he is, and man, I think the pressure might start getting to Hardman as well. There's another mistake through the old hairpin there for Nick Horvath, but he's continued to hold on to that momentum. This is it. This could be it here. Move at McLean side by side. Hardman has to go wide, and Horvath through for second. Finally.
He finally got it done. Kudos to Nick Horvath for making it work. That persistence paying off at McLean's.
Absolutely. And taking the optimal line through there, he was able to extend the gap a little bit towards the run-up to Coppice and absolutely get it done. Michael Broomhead is going to start his last lap here. We are white flag, and well, Broomhead out in the lead by over 6.5 seconds. This has been a dominant performance.
It really has been dominant indeed from Broomhead. Just absolutely solid. No one to challenge him ever since Horvath fell back.
He's still extending the track just a little bit, getting his wheels into the grass and gravel as he gets more comfortable with the car, but Broomhead knows, you know, he's in the lead of this championship. He's won the most races out of anyone so far in this season of Flying Husky Racing. He has nothing to worry about here, nothing at all, as he's only got 2 more corners here to navigate at Donington.
Only 2 more corners in that very narrow switchback that he's got to do. 1 and 2, there he goes onto the straightaway. Michael Broomhead will take the victory here at Donington. Behind him, Nick Horvath and Andrew Hardman begin to cross the line in 2nd and 3rd to finish out your podium.
And that was a great battle for 2nd place that was brewing the whole race. Really good to see that it was so clean between those 2 drivers, giving each other a lot of room. James Doherty, meanwhile, he's a long way behind these guys in 4th, and he's got a driver there of Calvin Lee starting to catch up to him. Lee made up quite a bit of time in the last few laps, so there's obviously a mistake for Doherty somewhere. Unfortunately, Lee will not be able to get him for 4th. He's going to have to settle for a top 5 here, but having considered everything that he's gone through, I'd say that's a pretty good result for Calvin and a great result for James Doherty as well.
Indeed, they're both going to be very, very pleased with that. As we follow here, the last driver on the lead lap, Nicholas Colander, crossing the line in P6 and having a little fun as he does.
Indeed, just, once you cross the line, don't have to worry about any damage, repair bills or anything like that. But I think good time now to go through our official race results, DJ.
I think actually, Reese, we're going to head to break before we do so.
Oh, yes.
Don't go anywhere, because as soon as we come back from break, we will have those race results followed by an interview with your podium. Welcome back to Donington Park, where the Flying Huskies have just finished up here with Michael Broomhead taking a commanding victory after a little bit of pressure there from Nick Horvath. Andrew Hardman was able to come home in third, followed by James Doherty, with Calvin Lee rounding out your top five. Nicholas Collender was sixth, followed by Hans Selnave and Gene Hawks, with Todd Curtis bringing up the back of the field. But first off, we've got Michael Broomhead here, your winner today. Michael, a little bit of pressure early on there from Nick, but you were able to withstand pretty well.
Yeah, thanks. You know what? He was putting on immense pressure. I was making a few mistakes, and I just couldn't get away from him. His pace was pretty strong, but thankfully for me, anyway, he made a little mistake, and he said it was my turn after that, but thankfully I didn't make too many errors, and then just brought it home, really.
Well, you're making a little bit of a habit of dominating these races. How did it feel out here today? Obviously, this is such a tricky circuit. Do you have any difficulties save that one little problem we saw you have?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very fast track, and obviously making use of every apex and getting everything right is very essential to a fast lap around here. There's a few corners I'm still not happy with, but you know, it wasn't too bad. I love Donington. I've been watching it for a long time, so it was a track I really wanted to race at. But yeah, overall, I'm pretty happy with it, and hopefully it continues.
Well, it looks like you fixed your start line problems a little bit. Any work in between the weeks to help you do that?
As simple as it comes, DJ. I got rid of the idea of the clutch because that was my problem in Imola. With PRL as well, I'm just neutral dumping it basically, and it just it works quite well all the time, as opposed to a bit better sometimes, and I think I'll go with that for consistency reasons.
Well, I'd say it did work. Anybody you'd like to thank for this victory here today?
Yeah, of course, the sponsors, Mountain Range Marketing and Elise'sLight.com. And Britannia, actually, we're going to be doing a charity kart race in real life up here in Canada soon, and we're going to start getting donations towards lupus. So we're definitely looking at that. So if you want to go and hit me up on Instagram or Facebook, Britannia iSports, please do take a look. And yeah, so family and Mimi and you guys as well.
Well, thank you. That was your winner, Michael Broomhead. And now Reese has caught up with your second place finisher, Nick Horvath.
I have indeed. Welcome to the broadcast booth, Nick, and congratulations on second. Certainly looked like it was getting a bit wobbly out there a few times, but really your race got off to a really good start with that great jump off the line to beat Andrew Hardman.
Yeah, thank you. It really was a good start. It just somewhere near the middle, I sort of lost my rhythm and sort of had to work things out. Once Andrew got me back, it just became kind of a try to fight it back. And eventually by that second half, I sort of got it down and found the corners that I knew I beat him at and just kept nailing them 100% of the time. But it did feel like it was getting really, really loose out there.
Yeah, it did look like that from our perspective as well, which, might result in a bit more scrubbing of the front tires to try and compensate. That's the kind of thing you got to deal with here at Donington.
Yeah, Donington's a really tough circuit because it's 100% momentum based. So the second you lose out anywhere, you basically lose at least almost a tenth, really. So it's all about just trying to keep the momentum up and just find out where the guy's slower and just sort of tighten the lineup just a tad more. And I find 90% of the time I can usually either keep with him or at least gain enough to keep within the draft.
Well, either way, it's a strong second place for you after that great pass on Andrew Hardman at McLean's. So looking forward to the rest of the season. Is your aim more podiums?
Oh, there's going to be more podiums for sure. I'm really looking forward to Sonoma. Sonoma's one of my favorite tracks on the schedule so far, so just hoping for a good result there. Maybe one of these days one of us will be able to challenge Broomhead.
Anyone you'd like to thank before we let you go, Nick?
Big thank you to everyone back at the team with Britannia. It's just been a lot of fun driving with them for these 2 seasons so far. Really just so happy to have found such a great group of guys to really get in with and just build bonds.
Nick Horvath there, P2 tonight at Donington Park. And next up, looks like DJ's caught up with third place, number 11, Andrew Hardman.
Andrew, it was a great battle there for a while with you and Nick Horvath. Thought you may have had him, but talk me through that, man.
Yeah, it was it's definitely a good race. I really had to push hard to keep up with the guys. I think they had the edge on me in terms of raw speed, so I just had to push that little bit harder, and mistakes happened. And yeah, so I think a combination of him getting an amazing run and me getting pretty poor run out of one of the corners, and then me being a little bit wary of the Hamilton Verstappen incident made me sort of a little bit easy on the defense. But it was a good race. I'm really glad that the three of us, Mike, Nick, and I, were able to get a good run out of it, and sort of no other factors came into play.
Well, exactly. And it did clearly pay out for you, I would say. Looks like you were able to avoid a lot of the mistakes that some of the other guys in front of you made here and there. Any tricks to doing that?
Well, I like to think I'm a smart racer, I guess, but then I've also done really stupid things in the past. So honestly, it's just luck of the draw, I guess.
Well, I think that luck's playing out pretty well for you, my friend. Any tracks you're particularly looking forward to on this schedule?
Honestly, I haven't looked too far ahead in the schedule. Remind me what's next.
I'm actually not sure either. So I know we're headed to Sonoma and a couple other places. I think we're headed to Sonoma next. So how do you feel about that?
Sonoma, I got my first win last year, so we're looking to repeat for sure. That'll be a good time. I like that track.
Well, perfect, my friend. Anybody you'd like to thank for today?
Yeah, Mike and Nick, they've been helping a lot with learning the track and stuff. I had a bit of trouble getting up to speed this week, so them as well as my family, of course, helping along the way. And you guys, of course, for covering this. This is awesome to see.
Well, thank you very much. That was your third place finisher, Andrew Hardman. And now we are going to pop over with your fifth place finisher and newcomer to the series, Calvin Lee.
Hello.
Indeed. Hello, Calvin. How's it going? And congratulations on P5. It didn't get off to the best of starts, though, with, a lot of drivers in this series over the course of the season. They've had issues with getting the car off the line. What happened for you?
Same issue with Nick. I was just dumping the clutch in first and just kept tire spinning off the line. So, I just made the best of it, just try to reel people in, and eventually somehow I ended up in fifth.
Indeed. Well, you did manage to make your way past Nicholas Collender at the midpoint of the race, and catching up to James Doherty in the closing stages, not quite able to get to him. Was there an incident in front of you that caused that gap to get smaller?
I believe James had an incident with Hans in front of me, so that pushed him a little bit back, and next thing you know, I'm just reeling in the seconds because he was about 11 seconds ahead of me, and I finished it off with half a second behind.
Indeed, a very strong finish indeed. So does that mean that A, we'll be seeing you back, and B, you'll be trying to aim for more top fives at Sonoma?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to aim for top five. I think I did pretty well today, considering that this is my first day with iRacing.
Yeah, certainly. Welcome to the club, Calvin. Anyone that you'd like to thank before we let you go so you can practice more?
I appreciate John and the V Club, Todd Curtis, all these guys. I've been hosting it here in my shop. I'm the owner here at Gripworks Racing, where Hans and a few of the other guys were coming in doing some sim racing for the Flying Husky Racing League here. And I figured now that we got some sims open, I'm gonna hop on myself.
Excellent stuff. Good to have you on board, Calvin. That's Calvin Lee there, fifth place at the end of it. And final interview of the night, DJ's caught up with our series organizer, Todd Curtis.
Well, Todd, it looked like you were having a little bit of a handful out there, but talk me through a tricky race at Donington.
Yeah, it was sort of a rough night. It started out strong right off the line. I'm like, hey, I got good position. I'm in a good spot. And then things just kind of went to hell. I had an attempt to get back on the track, and I came really close to Gene, and it was probably my fault, and took us both out, which I did last race, or he took me out. I don't know whatever way. But then when I got back in the pit, I came out, I couldn't get my pit speed limiter to turn off. So I was kind of cruising around with the limiter on, so that wasn't helping. And it just kind of went from bad to worse. I think I wound up clashing briefly with Hans and then with Michael, and it's just not a great night unless we're going for incident points.
I think we've all had those nights, Todd. Now, Little Bird told me we're headed to Sonoma next. I think that'll fare you a little better, won't it?
It better, I'll be pretty embarrassed if I perform like this there, since I theoretically know how to drive a car at that place.
Well, we'll be watching for it, Todd. Anybody you'd like to thank today?
Thanks everybody for coming out. Thanks to Nikki for being our live audience here, our friend who came to watch the race, and everybody just for making this what it is. It's really a good time out there, and we have a lot of fun doing it. So thanks for watching.
Well, thank you. That was Todd Curtis, and that's about going to do it for us here at GSRC. But before we go, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Norsled, Save a Husky. For more information, contact Todd Curtis through email at todd@flyinghusky.racing. We'd also like to thank Flying Husky Racing. Find out more about Flying Husky Racing at flyinghusky.racing. Flying Husky Racing, track days are the best days. Thanks also to the companies that provide the software and hardware for the broadcast listed here on your screen. For additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. And thanks to the team today, Sean, Reese, and Dougie. You can find out more about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media listed on the screen. Also, please check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC. We keep a link at the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. You heard us talk about it. We're headed to Sonoma next, same time next week, 11:30 Eastern. We also have some upcoming races listed on your screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. And until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.